Join us for an inspiring conversation with Joey Listro. We hope it inspires you to do something great in the world. Joey has brought gardening to every single kid in the city of New Britain, with 13 schools now having their own gardens and some having greenhouses and even bees. So let's go see what Joey has to say.
The Elven Star Podcast. And now, your host, Kevin Ferry.
Hi, I'm Kevin Ferry. Welcome to the Elven Star Podcast. I'm very pleased to have Joey Listro as our guest today. Joey is the founder and the outgoing executive director of Roots of New Britain. Welcome, Joey.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's awesome. We've known each other for a few years at least. I'm kind of losing track of time, but I think it goes back like at least maybe 4 or 5 years.
At least 5 years, yes.
And when I learned about you and the work that Roots was doing with children and with the schools in town, I was like immediately super jazzed because, I'm a trial lawyer, but also really passionate about nature and getting people back to nature, and gardens are a great way to do that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's start a little bit just and tell people about where your roots start from.
Sure. So my roots start right here in New Britain, Connecticut. I grew up here. I went to elementary and part of middle school here. My family did move to Newington when I was in 8th grade, and I attended Newington schools. But I kept finding myself returning to New Britain throughout my young adulthood. And New Britain has been home for me for pretty much my entire life. I always consider it as home. I built a lot of relationships here. And then thinking back to when I actually first met you, I remember it was actually in the bank. My my banker was like, "You got to meet this guy, Kevin. I think he's going to be really thrilled about learning what you guys do here in New Britain." And then I remember talking to you and having a really great conversation about the work that we do in the schools and the community with gardens and with kids.
Yeah, I remember that meeting now. I
Yeah,
remember that. I remember the banker. I remember that day. That's cool.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right, awesome. Yeah, New Britain is a cool place. There's a lot of diversity here, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It-
Something I didn't realize, until I actually moved out of New Britain was how diverse this community is, between our Puerto Rican population, Polish population, a growing Arabic population, and just like a blend of different cultures. I know in our school district, we speak over 20 different languages are represented in our student population. So it's really diverse. And I love working with students of all different backgrounds and different cultures, especially when it comes to food, because they bring to our programs different stories about the food that they're eating at home, the food that they see their grandparents growing in the gardens, and they're able to teach one another about the different traditions around food with their families.
Yeah, I mean, just food just brings us together.
Mhm.
The stories around food, around growing it, around sharing it with people, and talking about the different cultures here. I had a client that actually we went to trial with. She's Moroccan, and shortly before the trial started, Ramadan was upon us, and me and my co-counsel were invited to her home for the Ramadan feast.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa, the care and attention and the work and the preparation and how much love went into what they had was amazing. And then if that wasn't enough, then it was like, okay, we're going to go into the other room where there's like bonanza of desserts, tray after tray after tray, and their super strong coffee. But yeah, it was wild. It was wild.
That is that
Such
is
a
cool.
such a good memory. But yeah, so New Britain. And then, you decided how many years ago to start Roots?
Yeah, this was 12 years ago. We have quite the origin story. It was never my intention to start a nonprofit organization. It kind of just fell into it. I'm happy to explain how it
Yeah,
happened.
let's hear it. I want to hear the genesis story of Roots of New Britain.
Sure. So we got our start. Well, I should say I got my start. My background's in agriculture. I learned how to farm up in Maine for a couple of years before moving back to Connecticut. worked on a few organic farms, mostly around diversified organic vegetable production. So this is certified organic farms that are growing everything from spinach to garlic, potatoes, onions, you name it. I've experience growing it. And the farms I've worked on were all community based, which means we had a mission to support our community through education, teaching people about growing good food, and also getting good food out to people who were in need. So my personal mission has always been that food, especially good organic food, is a human right. It should be accessible to all people, not just those who could afford it. So I made that mission many years ago, and then um, coming to back to New Britain when I was 25 years old, I found an organic farm here, which was surprising to me, especially for someone who had such a deep interest in it, and coming and being someone that grew up in New Britain. I didn't know about it, and Urban Oaks Organic Farm, which was a farm started in 1999 on a former plant nursery property in the North Oak neighborhood of the city. Um, it was, invested by, state and city dollars. They rebuilt this property to, support an organic diversified vegetable farm. It had 6 greenhouses, about 2.5 acres of growing space, and um, here they were just doing something that I love, and I found it, and I asked if I could get a job there, and they said, "No, we can't we don't have any positions open at the moment." However, we do have a few people who are interested in doing education programs here. And I said, "Well, I have a background in education programs with farms, and let me see if we can talk." And that was back in 2012. I worked with a few people from the farm to establish a relationship with Smalley Elementary School, which is an elementary school 2 blocks from the farm. We provided after school programs where we could bring the kids from the school to the farm, and they loved it. Right away, they clicked, and they just were out there getting their hands dirty. These are 3rd graders, 4th graders, not afraid to, play in the dirt for a little while, and learn how to pick cherry tomatoes. Um, so we did that for a little while, and we were also getting a lot of requests for food donations in New Britain. Most of the food that the farm was growing was going to more affluent towns, where restaurants, higher end restaurants, could purchase it. Um, even markets from outside of New Britain. So a lot of the food wasn't staying here, and they recognized that, and they said, we need to start a nonprofit organization to work with the charitable mission of the work that we do. And they asked me to do it, and I said, "Oh, I don't have any background in starting a nonprofit organization. I don't even know where to begin." Um, and fortunately, someone pointed me to UConn Law School, and there was a clinic there that provided pro bono services for organizations that are looking to get their 501(c)(3). So I worked with an attorney along with her law students, Barbara McGrath, and they helped us establish New Britain Roots. That was in 2013. And New Britain Roots was set up as um, an organization that can handle the charitable work of the farm, which included the education programs, the food security programs, and an organization where we could apply for grants and receive donations because we are a tax exempt nonprofit. So, as you might know, it took a little while to get the nonprofit established. Also, the approval process with the IRS took a little while too. So we finally received our tax determination letter in 2015, and sadly, the farm actually closed and went bankrupt the same year.
Ah.
Yeah.
So tell me how long it actually took on the approval process. People might be interested that are thinking about venturing into 501(c) land.
Yeah, I have really mixed feelings about it because I don't know if I would do it the same way we did it before. There's just setting up a nonprofit in the early days. There's just quite a bit of administrative work and fundraising, and especially if you don't have the fiscal support behind launching an organization. But it took about a year and a half, and from the date we submitted the application to the IRS to approval, it took about 9 months.
Yeah.
But we had to organize our founding board of directors at the time, as well as prepare a business plan, a budget. We had to do our bylaws. Um, and we had to agree on a mission statement, which was also pretty time consuming too. So there was a lot of things to work through, even before preparing your application to get to the IRS.
Yeah, and then once you get it, it seems like almost the way our political system has resulted in politicians constantly fundraising. It's like they're spending most of their time. That seems to be true of 501(c)(3)s, like
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
right?
Yeah,
There's literally millions and millions of not-for-profits in this country, and it seems like they're all kinda competing for dollars,
yeah,
and it gets in the way of good work getting done, I think.
absolutely.
We gotta think of a better way to bring them together. Maybe there should be fewer, but just more collaboratively working together so there don't have to be 10 million people going through this painful process and working with lawyers and spending money and, like, all this stuff, right?
Absolutely. It's been 12 years of hustling for me,
Yeah, yeah.
to find the funds. With nonprofits too, initial grant money, is really one-year grants. Some of them are renewable, some of them aren't, and you're continually competing against other organizations. For instance, the city has a grant program where every nonprofit in the city of New Britain will submit an application, and we have to go before the Common Council to plead our case. So we're in a room with all the other nonprofits, and there's homeless issues and food issues and shelters and education, and there's so many worthwhile issues. And the city council is left with the impossible task of how to divvy up a very small pool of money
Yeah.
between all the different agencies that are working to address these causes. So, yeah, I mean, when someone comes to me saying, like, we're thinking of starting a nonprofit because we have this great idea, um, my first reaction is, like, see if there's any other organization out there that would be interested in helping you bring your idea to life without going through the hurdles of starting your own organization.
Merger and acquisition sort of, right?
Oh, yeah.
On a
Yeah.
maybe we could come up with different languaging so it doesn't sound so aggressive, but
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, you got it together and it grew, and so tell us about, like, step 1 and where it went and ultimately, bring us to where you are today.
Sure. So back in 2015 when the farm closed, we were left with, like, what do we do? We just got our 501(c)(3). Our mission really depended on the farm and providing program support for this property. So the big question was, well, do we just wrap it up and say we had a good, very short run and find something else to do? Or do we continue our programming and we continue our vision? So we decided to continue forward, and we did that a few different ways. Realizing we had no longer a farm and education space for the kids to work on. And we had, elementary school kids. We also had high school students that were part of a workforce program working on the farm at the time. We decided what we were going to do is bring the farm to the school. And what that looked like was beginning to build school gardens, school greenhouses right on the school properties. We have 13 schools in New Britain, and providing those outdoor learning places where we can provide the opportunity for kids to get outside, get their hands in the dirt, grow vegetables, plant seeds, learn a little bit about nature education and sustainability. And it took a long time, but we started with the school that we had the relationship with first, which was Smalley Elementary School. Soon after, it was Lincoln Elementary School. Um, I say, things grew organically, because that's exactly what happened. We didn't go into a school and say, "This is what we can provide you." What happened was, there's a lot of movement between schools in New Britain, and when good work happens at one school, another school says, "Hey, we want in on that." Um, so slowly but surely, we began installing these gardens, and then they continued into even greenhouses at some of the schools with a mission of having a garden at every school by 2020, but we beat that goal and had 13 school gardens or greenhouses at every school by 2019.
Wow, that's sweet.
Yeah, and we didn't forget about the food security aspect of the farm either. At the time the farm was closing, they were working with a fiscal sponsor, because we didn't have our 501(c)(3) at the time, to buy a mobile farmers market truck, which would go to different locations throughout New Britain. some people would call them food deserts or food swamps. And we would set up a farm stand where people are able to purchase produce from us. And if you're receiving SNAP or WIC benefits, the cost of the food is 50% off, which is reimbursable through the grant. And we said, "Hey, we're gonna take this on." So we received a mobile market, refrigerated box truck. We talked to farmers. We had about 4 different farmers in the greater New Britain area who are willing to sell wholesale to us so we can pick up from them, and then we can distribute the food at 5 or 6 different locations throughout town. Um, so we were both doing the food security work as well as the education work at the schools, at the same time.
Oh, that's sweet. Is all of this stuff still happening right now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
All right. So we're not quite there yet. We're still in mid-April, but when is the first food truck or produce market going to be set up?
Sure. So we start our mobile market in June. Mostly greens. We don't have like tomatoes or peppers, like the stuff that people really look forward to until late July. But June will start. We also supported the city in establishing a farmers market, which was established, I believe, in 2019 or 2020, which is downtown every Wednesday from June through October, from 11 to 2, and that's just a traditional it's a very small market, but we have a couple farm vendors there. We extend our, SNAP and WIC benefits, to any of the vendors that are selling fresh produce, um, and they could only be used for fruits and vegetables, so it's not used for baked goods or desserts or things like that. But, we extend that service. So this past year at the farmers market and our mobile market, we redeemed over $25,000 worth of WIC and SNAP benefits, that people were using to purchase locally grown food. And it's really cool. It's eye-opening. We share with our local leaders that, the majority of our customers are low income. They're using their SNAP benefits, they're using their WIC benefits to shop local with us.
Yeah.
And we wanna keep that going. We wanna be able to support that. It shows our mission is working.
Yeah. And are there other vendors there who will also participate in that and take the SNAP and WIC benefits and get the reimbursement and all that?
Yep. So Dondero Orchards, they do a lot of fruits. They're there. Any vendor, any farm vendor participating, what we do is we distribute tokens. They're called B-Bucks, and they're $1, $5, or $10 increments. So if somebody has a SNAP card, we can charge them $10, and then we give them $20 in tokens that they can use to shop with. So that really effectively doubles the value of their SNAP dollars. And yeah, so we've been doing this for a long time now, and it's only been growing every single year.
Yeah, it's amazing. How many how many kids do you think have been involved in this in the years that you've been doing this?
Oh, it's funny you ask because um, so 12 years is a long time, and it's pretty much the length of time someone is going to kindergarten all the way up through
Right,
high
right.
school.
Yeah.
And I've got to experience that firsthand. At the high school, we have an after school program. The kids will work in their greenhouse over there, and I've had more than one student come up to me recently and say, "Yeah, I was in the gardening club when I was at, Gaffney Elementary School. I remember you." And I'm like, "Whoa." Now I get it when people say, "This is what makes me feel old. This is
Yeah.
what makes me
Yeah.
feel old." It's like but it is also, like, what, like, really completes my experience too, because for a kid to remember an experience like that in elementary school 10 years ago is really cool. It shows impact, right? There's so much talk about how do you demonstrate impact in the nonprofit world, and sometimes it's hard to quantify. But having a story of a kid coming up to you 10 years later saying, "I remember working in my garden in 3rd grade," beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Are all the programs at the 13 schools now, available to the kids are, like, always after school? Or do they have anything where they allow kids to go during the day, check on things or whatever? I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah, a big win for us, happened about 2022, 2021, I think. Um, One of these funny things that happened with the pandemic was, "Oh, we need to get kids outside. We need to get people outside." So So there's this emphasis of getting people outside, like it wasn't, you know, thought about before, but it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna capitalize on this because schools and people are outside more. So what we did was we worked with the school district to develop a curriculum in partnership with their STEAM program. So STEM, it's a STEM program, but with arts. And they wanted to include a unit in organic gardening. For the STEAM program, which is available for all elementary and middle school students, it's like an elective, and they're able to do all sorts of innovative engineering projects. They have maker spaces, and they said this is going to fit well into the curriculum. So we worked with the STEAM staff. We provide professional development opportunities for, it was about, I think, 28, 30 teachers at the time, to show them this is how you do vermicomposting. We're going to provide you worm bins. You can throw some organic waste in here. We have the red wigglers, teach the kids about how to compost. We're going to show you how to do seed starting. We'll provide you some grow lights for your classroom. We'll provide you with some space in the garden so you can have a plan. The kids can figure out what they want to grow. Um, so all these different activities and lessons, and the district adopted it, and so it became a regular part of every child's learning opportunity in the schools. And for me, that was a huge win because here we were, a small nonprofit working on the outskirts of a large school district, and with the desire to really get in there and change the culture of the schools in a big way. So, they're still doing it today. And we took it one step farther, and I'm not sure if you knew this, but we we just 2 years ago installed the beehive inside one of our elementary schools. Um, and that was probably one of the hardest projects. I can share more about that.
Yeah, this is we're all about the bees in New Britain. We've
Absolutely.
got the
Yeah.
the coolest bee bridge anywhere in the country as far as I know, right?
Mhm.
Our beehive bridge, which is wild. It stands out, like, because you go through, like, think, what, 5 bridges when you come through New Britain?
So many.
And
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
very, they're very plain. They're
Yeah.
just concrete things, and then you get this colorful, cool thing right in the middle, which is neat.
Yeah. I love, talking about pollinators. There's been a lot of emphasis on building pollinator pathways, especially through urban areas, supporting our bees. And, it's part of every child's learning before even we came along, learning about bees, learning about pollinators. For me, I thought what better way to do it than to actually bring the bees to the kids too. So we partnered with an organization called Honeybee Project, based in New Haven, and they do a lot of work with children around beekeeping, and they share all sorts of lessons and tools to get kids comfortable around bees because that's the first thing. It's like trying to get them, not scared. They can be in a bee suit and really handle a beehive and be comfortable with it. And they helped us install an observation beehive at Smalley Elementary School. Smalley is one of the first schools we worked with, and um, they were ready to go right away. When I approached them with the idea, they said, "Let's do it. Our school mascot is the bee. um, let's build a pollinator garden." We partnered with Rotary Club of New Britain to build a pollinator garden. Um, and then so we purchased a glass beehive. The school is a new school too. They just renovated it at the time, and then here I was asking to drill a huge hole through one of the walls to install a PVC pipe for the bees to enter and exit. Um, but we did it. We installed the hive. The bees were flying in and out. It's on the second floor, so it's not ground levels. Um, it's safe, there have not been any accidents inside. The hive is able to turn, so the kids can go and they can look for the bee. But even that project took about a year to get off the ground because we were doing a lot of education with the parents, with the students, with the school community, approval processes, to get everyone comfortable with having bees at the school. And now they love it. The kids are, playing on the playground in recess, and you could actually see where the beehive is, which room it's in, because there is a stream of bees flying in and out during a beautiful day. Um, and it's just a beautiful thing to see. And the kids will always try to look for the queen bee in the beehive too. And it's in a STEAM classroom too, so the STEAM teacher is trained on how to keep the hive healthy throughout the year.
Oh, that's sweet. Is the pollinator garden on site at the school as well?
Yeah, yep, it's right by the bus turnaround. And we try to plan to put in plants that are blooming throughout the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give us an idea of what that would be. So if someone wants to attract bees just to their yard, what they might want to plant.
Yeah, excuse me. So if you first wanna just do, um you can do annuals, it's okay, bees will love annuals. I like to do, any type of, perennials that are gonna be in bloom throughout, spring, summer, and fall. Um And, yeah, I can't get into too specifics, but of what we planted there. Um, but I know we did a lot of herbs that were flowering. We've done lavender plants. We try to do things that are really, strong scented, because, especially at the schools where, there's a lot of sensory learning. We'll bring kids outside and they're able to, um touch and smell, and if it's edible, they can taste the different plants. We do a new program with our Key program, which is for students with higher needs, autism, and there's a lot of sensory learning involved with that. I'm trying to get them to use their sensory skills, motor skills, things like that, and go out and explore in the garden.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, we have a little garden outside of our office, as you know,
Yeah.
and Leslie takes care of that and plants all kinds of good stuff for bees. And it is just so much fun to watch them,
Yeah.
get close up pictures of them, and try to imagine like where their hive is and all that kind of cool stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I'll just add to what I found, in my very short time working with bees, is that a lot of social workers, are beekeepers, is something I found out. Um, One of our reasons we were successful at the elementary school is because we had a social worker as our biggest champion, because she is a backyard beekeeper at her home. And, what I've learned from the honeybee project, as well as, a couple social workers that are beekeepers that I've met, was it was a great way for students to, do social emotional learning and social emotional regulation, right? Because when we have kids around things that they might perceive as dangerous, like bees, um, their first reaction is to, like, panic and move and run. Um, but if we provide a safe environment for them to be in an area where they're a little bit scared, to be in, and we provide them the tools and the regulation tools for them to be calm, and how to breathe, and stay focused, then, we're doing that exercise of social emotional regulation. And, so the social workers taught me quite a bit on why it's another benefit to have kids, feel comfortable and safe around bees.
Yeah, I've heard that even the thrum of the hive, they
Mhm.
actually thrum at like a note of C.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's like that's pretty incredible, and,
yeah.
they can change that depending on how hot they need to get or, if they need to warm up in the winter, they beat their wings faster, but,
Mhm.
yeah, there's amazing things to be learned from a
So
beehive.
much to learn, so much to learn. Yeah.
Yeah, and as far as, like, making kids not fear nature, that's huge.
Yeah.
We talked before we came on about, like, ticks, it's tick season here in Connecticut, and
Mhm.
people are afraid to go out in the woods because of that. And I
Yeah.
just feel like that's a real shame. It's real. You can
Yeah.
get Lyme and it's not good.
Yeah.
But it's also something that you can deal with and there's ways around it and there's good natural products to use and education, stay away from grasses. If you're hiking, try to stay on the trail maybe if you're concerned if it's heavy tick season, stuff like that. But that's what it's all about. Just like teaching people, right? Letting them
Right.
know that, hey, the world is not all that dangerous,
Mhm.
especially out in the forest. That's probably like where you really should be.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
It's similar to concept to developing eating behaviors when you're a child, right? Some parents struggle with getting their kids comfortable eating different types of vegetables. Um, we wanna focus on, our youngest learners, kindergarten, 1st, 2nd grade, and we wanna get those students out in the garden first and, exposed to different types of food. Um, we're finding, the younger you can, share these experiences with the kids, the more likely they are to adopt healthier behaviors longer, in life. And if I could share a story, like, a lot of the kids we work with, they are like, "I'm not eating that. That's yucky. That's gross. I'm not gonna do it." Um, we have kids that are very dramatic sometimes, and, like, we'll have, a cherry tomato growing in the garden, they're picking it, and then they pretend to vomit because, they wanna put on a show with their friends, so we say, "Don't yuck my yum," is our phrase. Uh, and more often than not, what we find is the kids that are working in the garden, although they may not like to eat whatever vegetable they're growing, after they grow it from seed to harvest, they're eating that vegetable
Mhm.
because they took ownership of that. And not only not only that, but, we're building food literacy too, so the identification of what the vegetable looks like, what it tastes like. Um, so I've had a parent come up to me after one of our programs saying, "Hey, we were at Stop and Shop in the produce aisle, and my kid points to the kale on the shelf and said, 'Can we get some kale today?'" And the mom was like, "I don't even know what to do with kale. How do I cook how do you know what kale is?" And, but they took it home, they cooked it, and, um, it's it's stories like that that's like, "Okay, this is working," because I think back to when I was a kid and exposed to, like, all the marketing around, like, Fruit Roll-Ups and Gushers and all that stuff on TV, and I'd be with my mom in the grocery store saying, "Can I get that?" Or I'll just throw it right in the cart. Like so we wanna continue to, like, expose the kids to the things that they might be afraid of, the things that they're hesitant to try, whether it's, being around bees or a vegetable that they're not familiar with.
That's amazing, that's cool. We've had similar stories at our little garden in front of our office. People walk by and they'll ask us questions. We'll say, "Hey, come on in." We walk them
Yeah.
around, and I remember one person was asking about the eggplants, and they're like, "I've never seen that grow in the wild." That type of thing. Or people that have really never even seen a tomato on a vine.
Yeah.
It's not that uncommon, right? And so what you're doing is, like, reintroducing people to, like, what their source of life is. Huge. Not
Yeah.
not a little thing. And I love the fact that you started at the elementary school and it kinda just blossomed on its own, like you said. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
It's, I mean, and we go all the way through high school, and with our high school students, they get paid to work. They help at the farmer's market. One thing that really makes our program work is our high school students are paid to care for the gardens over the summer when school's not in session. So that way we can ensure, when kids go back to school in September, their garden's not just full of weeds and a mess. And I love having the high school students work at the farmer's market because they get exposed to a little bit of entrepreneurship. They're seeing something that was grown, that they're trying to market and sell. They're exchanging cash. We teach them a little bit about, cash management, customer service. And we have to teach them about food too, because they have to sell the product to customers. And the number one question we were asked at the market is, well, how do I use this? So if you're asking a 16, 17-year-old that, like, they better be ready. So, we'll cook some of the food with them, at our office and show them. But there's some really simple things too. We've had a 17-year-old high school student who, this is during peach season. It was August. We were getting our peaches from, Norton Brothers Farm in Cheshire. It's no longer there, but, um, and these were like really ripe peaches, like the ones that melt in your mouth. So we have them at the farmer's market, and one of our students said, "Oh, can I have one?" And I gave her the peach, and she's like, "I've never had a peach like this before." She's like, "The only peaches I've had were in the fruit cup, a fruit cup."
Whoa.
Yeah, so something I would take for granted, like, I'm like, "Okay, so maybe, from in school, you get the fruit cups, you may not get the whole fruit, and, maybe you don't get a peach. They don't have a long shelf life if they're, soft, but that's the best time to eat them, and that just she just like lit up with that fresh peach, and she was able to share that experience with customers at the market too.
Yeah, it's amazing. I tried my luck with, peaches and had a tree and had one year where it was just unbelievable.
Oh, really?
Hundreds and hundreds of peaches. Second year, the bear decided to come and, like, tear half of the tree down to eat peaches, believe it or not, and the chipmunks and the squirrels, whatever, found it, but, like, I had one year that was amazing.
Yeah,
So, yeah, when you're gardening, you gotta be able to kinda weather the good and the bad times, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Does any of the food that's grown at the schools go into the cafeterias at all?
Yeah. So we work with Whitson's, which is the food service company for New Britain schools. Um, eh, we don't grow enough to like supply. We have 10,000 students in the school district. They're eating 2 or 3 meals a day. So it's a drop in the bucket with what we're growing. But our food is used for taste tests. So um, we have volunteers and some school district staff have been when we have food available, they'll take it and they'll do like, little samples. So we've done little green smoothies. We've done, a beets tasting. We've done, butternut squash, roasted butternut squash tasting. So like the kids are able to like take a little roasted cube of butternut squash and try it.
Mhm.
Um, and so, yes, that's helpful, but also what we're able to do is say like, "Oh, the kids are enjoying what this, vegetable is or what this food is." We've done pesto too. I'm just thinking of all the things we've tried before. Um, but we're able to say to the food service department, "Oh, the kids are really interested." We survey them, so when they come up to the tasting station, when we do it, they're able to say if they liked it or loved it or tried it. And we can give that information to Whitson's and they're able to say, okay, we're going to incorporate some of this. We're going to do a soup. We're going to do, add this to the salad bar, and makes those changes. One year we've grew, so we have some high tunnels, which are kinda like greenhouses, they're not heated besides the solar heat, but we're able to grow lettuce and spinach in the winter in those tunnels, and, we planted around 200 heads of lettuce, which was all, purchased actually by the school district, they bought it from us, to serve throughout the salad bars throughout the 13 schools. Um, you could tell you could tell that it was not like their pre-chopped lettuce that they bought from, Cisco or wherever they get their lettuce from, and I had a lot of comments like, "This is really good lettuce," or, "I had some dirt in my lettuce." I'm like, "I'm sorry, we're not responsible for, like, the washing and chopping of
Yeah.
the lettuce heads," but
Well,
yeah.
that's cool. I didn't have salad bars at the schools where I grew up, so I'm happy to hear that they have salad bars in the cabs.
Yeah,
That's
not all the schools, but
okay.
a few do.
That's neat.
Yeah, the high schools come a long way with their cafeteria.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
How do people, donate to Roots, get involved in, like, helping work or whatever else? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, the best way is, our website, so newbrightonroots.org. It's all spelled out, and, we have a donate button on our page, but we also have a number of volunteer opportunities. Um, on our webpage, there is a sign up for our newsletters, which goes out about twice a month, at this point. So if you're interested in volunteering, you can sign up for our newsletter. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, and we post different volunteer opportunities on our social media. This is the busiest time of the year for us, for sure. Earth Day's coming up, and everyone's ready to get outside with the first sunny weather. So we have a lot of projects. We're rebuilding our community garden on Chapman Street, so we need some hands for that. I didn't get to talk about it, but we're installing a school orchard with 12 fruit trees at New Britain High School, um, in May, which we're excited for.
That's cool. What kind of trees?
So I know there's apples, I know there's peaches, I know there's pears, but I don't know if there's another variety.
That's pretty good right there.
Um, and that's part of a larger grant we received from the state to do shade tree planting. So we're planting 100 shade trees, street trees along some busier places in New Britain where there's a lot of impervious area. There's more heat coming from the streets, and so the state has identified these. urban centers that needed more shade.
Any
Yeah.
possibility of getting the city to these giant pots that they have, right,
Yeah.
to put some fruit trees in those?
That's a good idea.
We have, like, so
Yeah.
many homeless, right in downtown, and I had called the mayor, like, 10 years ago, and I said, "Hey, I see all these huge new pots. Why not some fruit trees, some apples, some stuff, and people can actually eat right off the trees?" I never heard back. So,
Yeah.
I just whatever, my idea, they didn't listen,
Yeah.
that's okay. It happens. But anyway,
Yeah.
but I'm psyched to hear that about where they gonna be at the high school? Where are they planting?
So there's the food service department, the back of the high school, there's a small greenhouse that's, something we help operate. It's staff parking lot, so it's actually between New Britain High School and, Willowbrook Park.
Yeah.
There's a little bit field space, and
Oh,
it's
that's
right
nice.
near the brook.
That's gonna
Yeah,
be sweet.
yeah.
So you are, turning the reins over soon at Roots, or I don't know if you have. Are you still
Not
the
yet,
not
yeah.
yet? Okay. And who's coming in to fill your big shoes?
Yeah, so about a month or 2 ago, I announced I was departing Roots. I thought it was time for fresh leadership. It was kinda my baby that I grew over 12 years, and, the organization is at a pivotal moment where we're, doing a lot of great work in New Britain, and where it's time for us to develop a new strategic plan. I wanted a new leadership in place, to help, figure out what our next 10 or 12 years looks like. Um, and I had also gone back to school to get my master's, a couple of years ago, and I completed that in May for public policy. Because my interest has over time, been in advocacy work around the environment, in agriculture. So I was interested in pursuing a career in, advocacy and lobbying. And, so yeah, that led me to, this new career, but, for the time being, we have a board of directors, which is actively hiring for my position. I know they've been interviewing people. They're accepting applications until April 18th, so it's closing pretty soon. And, they're hoping to have a new executive director in place, by mid to late May. And in the interim, there'll be our board chair, Meg Horgan, who will be stepping in, to bridge the gap between myself and the new ED.
Oh, that's great. Where did you go get your master's?
UConn School of Public Policy.
Oh, nice.
It was a really great program. It was geared towards, working professionals, so it was a Saturday program. It was 2 years of Saturdays from 8 to 4 p.m. It was a lot, but it was really, really worthwhile. It was, an executive leadership with, and it's a master's in public administration with a nonprofit management certification, and I got to meet state legislators, nonprofit professionals, um, a lot of state employees that went through this program. Um, Really eye-opening, really, really cool. So I'm excited to use my degree, in my next job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. So, amazing story. Basically, just started from, "Hey, can I work at this little farm?"
Mhm.
The farm goes bankrupt, there is no farm, but here we are 12 years later, and there's produce and children involved in understanding where food comes from, get involved in bees and nature,
Yeah,
the whole customer service transaction world, getting some of that experience.
yeah.
It's incredible. So you've proven that, one person can make a huge difference.
Thank you.
You really have.
I mean, I feel thankful to everyone that's helped contribute to the mission. So, just not just myself, but there's just been so many people from, um, our local university, CCSU, through, you know, dedicated parents and volunteers in the community that wanna see something happen, to the people who donate. They believe in the mission, and, um what I've learned over the years was that, relationships take time. So just like you're tending to a garden, it takes time to grow from seed. Same thing with, people in your community. It takes a little while to build trust, and once they see what you can do, they believe you, and they support you however they can. And I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah, awesome. So as a business owner that has a little garden in his front yard, How could we promote that maybe for more business owners in New Britain to get involved in doing that?
That's a great question. I'm seeing more of it. I'm seeing some yards that have been transformed from, a lawn to a food garden. That really excites me. And I'm hoping it just like catches on and whether they're businesses or homeowners, they're able to transform their yard into a garden. Um, for businesses, I think it's similar to schools where we work with them and we tell them, these are the benefits of having a garden. Like, you can donate the food to people in the community. Um, you make your business look more approachable. I mean, I think gardens look great. Some people aren't like, vegetables don't look that pretty, but you can do pollinator gardens too. It's okay. Um, and I always we've actually built some gardens at businesses, mostly nonprofits, but we helped CMHA, Community Mental Health Affiliates, build a garden. HRA, we've helped a few organizations, uh, CCARC on Slater Road. Been wanting to do one with the hospital for a long time, but yeah, it's just kinda like working with, finding someone that's really interested, championing at the business that is really, thoughtful and wants and knows what the benefit of gardening is about and supporting them however we can.
Well, what I can tell business owners is if you have any uh, inkling of making your customers feel more calm and relaxed, a garden
Yeah,
can do that, right?
yeah,
So, as a trial lawyer, people that are coming to see me, they're under some form of stress. They didn't come to me because everything's rosy. They came to me because they just got crushed in a car accident. They came to me because they were sexually exploited and they've got, some huge emotional trauma that's been shoved in their life.
yeah,
And I have firsthand witnessed people coming to my office with these types of really dramatic, terrible things happen to them that get a reset or get relaxed by the garden. And they tell me that when they walk in. And they're coming in for a deposition where they're gonna have to testify and they're scared. And they'll breathe a little bit and just like connect with the flower, watch a bee or two. And it's huge. So
yeah,
firsthand, folks, I can tell you people do really gravitate toward life. And that's what a garden is. It's right. It's our life. It's our sunlight that's
mhm,
being stored in these plants that we're taking in and then we're converting that sunlight into our fuel for life.
absolutely,
So
yeah.
just briefly, we'll tell the people I know there's not a lot that you can talk about quite yet, but just tell us what the next chapter is for you.
Yeah, I'm really excited to start my next chapter with the Connecticut Forest and Park Association as their new executive director. This organization has been around since 1895. They've been a leading advocate in land conservation, especially around forested land throughout the state of Connecticut. They work with land trusts, they work with organizations to promote forestry, sustainable forestry practices. They also help with trail management. They're most known for their Blue Blaze trails, which is over 800 miles of trails throughout the state. And it's all volunteer maintained, so they have crews that go out there and make sure we have great hiking trails throughout Connecticut and promote a lot of recreational activities. Yeah, I'm looking forward to increasing access to all of our state parks and forests for everyone in Connecticut.
Awesome. I can't wait to have you back when you've been in that role for a little while and we
Yeah,
can talk about that because I absolutely love being in the woods. I love trees. I love birds. I love everything about it. It is just get out in the woods, folks. And thank you so much. That
yeah.
was that was a really nice talk. It was great to hear about everything that you've been doing and what's coming next.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brought to you by Ghost the Dog Productions. Bark from the rooftops, baby. Ooh.
The Elven Star Podcast is underwritten by Ferry Law.